this is actually a pretty big deal. One criticism I've applied to Have I Been Pwned in the past is the limited amount of password databases they have. So basically, when a password database is compromised and a hacker releases it publicly on the dark web, either volunteers find it and send it to the Have I Been Pwned team, which is really just one person, or he actually goes out. I think his name is it Troy Hunt? Is that his name?
I think so. Yeah.
So Troy will go out and try and find these things himself, but he's just one person, right? And for every database that's being publicly released for free on the dark web, there's probably 100 that are not public, that are either being sold or being used for other purposes that we never find out about, right? Well, there are plenty of databases where the FBI knows about them, where a company is hacked, compromised, whatever. They call the authorities, the FBI gets involved, and so the FBI takes the hashed password database that they now know about that's not being publicly given away on the dark web, and they are automatically linked up and handing that over to Have I Been Pwned. So now Have I Been Pwned will have one of the most complete compromised databases, at least for companies that have contacted the authorities. Now, there's still going to be companies that have been hacked that are trying to hide it, that have not contacted the authorities, and maybe they paid a ransom or whatever, and maybe they don't even know that their database has been stolen. So there's going to be gaps like that. It's certainly not perfect, but it really does put them, the Have I Been Pwned website is now a lot more valuable and useful than it used to be.
Yeah, the conversation about passwords has always been an interesting one to me because, I was talking about this with David Bombal, and we shot a little thing about using John the Ripper to crack passwords, and that conversation, he was telling me, people get on to me when I do stuff like this because they're saying, oh, that password you used is way too easy. I said, what's easy? Easy is if it was landed in a dictionary list somewhere, it's going to be easy for the machine to do it because it just runs to the list, right? So it doesn't matter its complexity or whatever. And so, like you say, them taking these released passwords and feeding it straight into the system and making that system more robust for us to be able to check and see if our passwords are a part of a breach somewhere or just bad in general because they are in a list allows us to do better OPSEC because now we can say, I think I'm going to use this password. Let me check and see its veracity. I can go to Have I Been Pwned, see if it shows up anywhere. And now that means a little something more than it did before because I'm getting good, live, up-to-date intel that's coming from a reliable source.
Sorry. Now, can you search that way as well on there? Because whenever I've gone there, I put my email address in and I see if my email has been part of a compromise. But you're saying you can actually type in a password and see how secure it is, or if that password has been used before in other places that have been
breached? And it's partly because of this new stuff. So in order to do the email lookup, the FBI would basically have to give your email to Have I Been Pwned, which is a privacy concern. So they aren't doing that. So they're just giving hashed passwords over. And so that means you can't search based on your email address. That's not going to turn these up. But you can type in your password or send a hash of your password up, and it'll show whether or not that password has been used on a compromised site, which might not be you. It might be somebody else just happened to pick the same password as you, and that may not, may be a false positive. If you enjoyed that segment, be sure to check out our entire podcast available in the playlist right here. And you can always subscribe to stay up to date with the latest tech news and other happenings in the IT world. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for new episodes. I hope to see you there.